Once upon a time, I used to be the kind of person who had little to no discipline. I would wake up at 10 a.m., crawl out of bed, still a bit sleep deprived because I'd stayed up pretty late binge watching shows on Netflix that night. And the first thing that I would do each morning is play this game called GTA San Andreas. I must have wasted like 1,000+ hours on that game doing all the side missions and shit. My life back then was quite a mess. My grades were terrible, my social life was bad. I was that awkward kid at high school who said weird things that no one cared to respond to. For quite a while, I believed that I was never going to amount to much in life and I'm just destined to be a loser. Even the people who were the closest to me, my friends and family members, I could feel that they didn't really respect me, and to be honest, rightfully so, because I was living a life that was unworthy of being respected. But that isn't who I am anymore. I am now the most disciplined and consistent version of myself. I've been a software engineer at Fortune 500 companies. I've been the best performing student at both my bachelor's and my master's program in really competitive engineering programs. Additionally, I lift weights at the gym and train martial arts 6 days a week. In this video, I'm going to share with you 3 principles that allowed me to make this transformation. And if you start implementing these protocols in your life, you are going to notice a massive difference in your productivity, your impulse control, and your mood. So let's get right into it. There's this book called Grit by Angela Duckworth. This book is pretty much all about how to build that never quit attitude, discipline or perseverance or whatever you want to call it. There's one very interesting piece of research that this book spoke about. It was the fact that students who performed an extracurricular activity like ballet or joined a debate club or played any sport for 2 years, then they performed better academically and in life compared to those who have never performed any other extracurricular activity or just dabbled with some extracurricular activity and quit it in a couple of months. The reason why sticking to an extracurricular activity for 2 years mattered so much was because it teaches you perseverance, delayed gratification, resilience. Like, actually think about it. In order to do something for 2 years, you need to show up to that thing for most days in a week. You are building up your muscles of just showing up. Secondly, when you first start doing an extracurricular activity, guess what? You're going to absolutely suck at that thing. I remember the first time I did jiu-jitsu, I was getting tapped like every 30 seconds by some 14-year-old kid. The first time I tried sparring in kickboxing, I had no idea what the hell was happening to me, bro. The initial phases of starting a new activity builds up this ability to endure that sucky period where you're not really getting that dopamine of being super amazing at your craft. And it teaches you how to delay gratification. Lastly, it teaches you how to show up the next day even if you have had a bad day today. No matter what skill or craft you're trying to master, you're going to have a bad day at the office. Maybe you're learning how to play the guitar and you absolutely butcher the notes. Now, if you just quit the next day, the moment you have a bad day in the office, then guess what? You are reinforcing this identity of being a quitter. However, if you actually show up to the next class, despite getting your ass kicked, you are once again teaching yourself how to be resilient. The skills that you gain from doing these extracurricular activities, things like perseverance, delaying gratification, resilience, these things are going to carry over to all other domains of your life. Your work ethic when it comes to your career is going to improve. Your commitment and tolerance when it comes to your relationships is going to improve. And lastly, your ability to resist instant pleasure is going to improve. So here's what I want you to do right now. Think of an activity that you're genuinely interested in. Maybe it's learning a martial art or distance running or learning how to play the keyboard. The choice of activity does not really matter. What does matter is that you have a genuine interest in it. Now commit yourself to that activity for the next few seasons of your life. For the next 2 years of your life, you are going to practice this art regularly. And believe me, you're going to have moments during these 2 years where you just want to give up on that activity because you're going to have setbacks, you're going to find it boring at times, you're even going to plateau in skill and not see any improvement. But once you actually go through 2 years of commitment towards an activity, then you have created a lifelong evidence for yourself that yes, you are the kind of guy who's gritty, you are the kind of guy who's consistent, and you are the kind of guy who gets things done. You as a person are being shaped by things that you do. And that is why you are now going to do 2 years of an extracurricular activity. But the thing is, you are also being shaped by the culture that is around you. If you're surrounded by friends who are pretty much ambitionless, have no long-term goals, they're impulsive and only care about having quick fun by indulging in weed or video games or just casually hooking up or going to clubs, then guess what? You're actively being morphed into a person who does not have discipline, does not have perseverance or who even lacks ambition. And you might think to yourself that I just like their company, I just hang out with them, I don't really partake in these behaviors that they do. I'm just a passive observer, so there is no harm in that. But guess what? There is harm in that. And let me show you how it harms you by giving you an analogy of running. You know, at some point in the world of running, it was considered humanly impossible to complete 1 mile in under 4 minutes. No one had ever done it until 1954. There was a guy named Roger Bannister who actually pulled it off. And you might think that, oh yeah, Roger was probably someone so special, he had some genetic advantage or something. But here is the interesting part. The next year, in 1955, 3 people broke that 4-minute mile barrier. And the year after that, in 1956, 5 people broke that barrier. And the year after that, in 1957, 16 people broke that barrier. The point that I'm trying to make is that the ceiling of what you think is possible or the expectations that you have of yourself is limited by the things that you see other people around you doing. And if you're constantly surrounded by a circle of ambitionless losers, then being a loser is subconsciously going to rub off on you. On the other hand, if you're part of a strong culture where your friends or colleagues are all ambitious, disciplined, honorable men, then their virtues, their value systems, their work ethic, and their achievements are all going to rub off on you. Now, granted, in 2025, 90% of the people that you're going to come across might just not be the kind of people you would consider as bringing valuable upgrade to your life. But I would rather maybe have 2 or 3 guys as my friends that I consider as walking on the same path of excellence as me, than be surrounded by a bunch of dudes who are pretty much dragging me in the opposite direction. Also, in the modern times, culture isn't just dictated by the people who are physically around you. It is also dictated by the kind of online communities you're part of, the kind of content creators you follow, the kind of movies that you watch, the kind of posts that you see, the kind of music that you listen to. All of these things are subconsciously molding you. So if you're constantly watching creators who are just adding little to no value in your life, or if you're constantly watching movies with no positive, impactful messages, or just listening to songs that just promote hedonism and degeneracy, then you're forever going to be a weak, impulsive man. On the other hand, if you follow the creators that genuinely bring value to your life, watch long-form videos that educate you rather than entertain you, you watch documentaries rather than movies, then you are the kind of man who is no longer going to pursue fleeting pleasures. He is rather going to want to pursue excellence. There are going to be periods in your life where everything is in place. You're regularly hitting the gym, you're reading every day, you're working on your business, you're not indulging in any bad habits, and you're just quite motivated and happy. It is during these phases where you can see yourself make a lot of progress in various domains. But then there are going to be phases of your life where things are not really going your way. Maybe you just woke up with a fever, or maybe your marriage proposal got rejected, or maybe you're going through a rough patch with a friend, or maybe you just feel like shit for no particular reason. The thing is, these low phases are going to exist and they are part of life. What is so dangerous about these phases is that they can send you down a very self-destructive path and can undo a lot of the progress you made during a positive phase. Because during a low phase, you are far more susceptible to instant pleasure-giving activities. Maybe when you feel low, you gravitate towards ordering fast food or watching pornography or having weed or alcohol or casual sex or whatever is your choice of poison, you're just more susceptible to it now. This low phase actually passes away naturally within a short while and you're back to that high phase of your life and you can continue making that progress. But if you actually slip into these self-destructive coping mechanisms, then you are just going to elongate that low phase and you're going to be stuck in that rut for maybe days, weeks, or even months. So it is extremely crucial that you learn how to handle these low phases without indulging in self-destructive behaviors. And unless you learn how to do, you're just going to be stuck in life. But once you learn how to handle a low phase appropriately, that is when your progress is going to compound and you're going to see achievements unlocked. The first step is to actually recognize that you are having a low phase and to be okay with it. That hey, this is just a part of life. Feeling sad at times or unproductive at times is completely okay. You don't need to escape it. You don't need to numb out this phase with some external coping mechanism. Secondly, when most people hit these low phases, they don't feel like doing any of the hard work that they previously did. It now just feels a lot more challenging. So they just end up quitting everything and they curl up on their bed. But what this does is it actually breaks their momentum, and it actually makes the low phase last far longer and leaves them more susceptible to self-destructive habits. So instead of giving up the productive work completely, I want you to do that productive thing, but just at 30% intensity or volume. So if you typically work out for 60 minutes, on your low days, I want you to just work out for 20 minutes. If you read 10 pages of a book a day, then on your low days, I just want you to read 3 pages of that book. This way, you're still able to do the productive things, maintain the momentum, maintain the consistency, get the healthy amount of dopamine. And this might actually help you get out of the low phase even quicker and continue your trajectory of making progress. The last tip on how to deal with low phases is called damage limitation. Let's say you're just about to indulge in some self-destructive behavior, and you know that if you binge into that behavior, you're going to reset your progress by month. Maybe you are on a diet and you just want to binge on shitty garbage food and you just can't handle it anymore. The urges are too strong. Or maybe you're someone trying to quit porn, you're just feeling like crap and you can't handle it anymore. You're just moments away from watching degenerate content and resetting your nofap streak. It is only in such cases you need to use the damage limitation protocol. Basically, what this protocol means is that you can still do something that is perhaps not too good for you, but not in a way such that behavior would suck you in. For example, if you were just about to cheat on your diet, like that is it, you can't stop the urges anymore, then cheat on it with maybe 1 bar of extra dark chocolate, which has the least amount of sugars and the least messed up ingredients. Or basically just eat the least unhealthy fast food that you can find. If you're a porn addict and you're just about to relapse to watching porn, maybe just masturbate to your imagination instead of looking at pixels on a screen or watching absolutely mind-numbing degenerate content. Both of these damage limitation strategies will offer you some relief in your moment of weakness, without pulling you so deep into the rabbit hole that you just start feeling miserable and feel like you undid all the progress. Sure, you might have taken a step back in the race, but you're not starting the race all over again. This protocol of damage limitation should only be exercised when you're pretty certain that you're about to fall into a self-destructive behavior. Also, you need to think about that alternative damage limitation activity prior to having those self-destructive urges. The protocols that I've described in this video are going to be quite effective. But the thing is, in order to be truly disciplined, it is crucial that you have good focus and a long attention span. Without this, you're just a leaf floating through the wind, pursuing the next shiny object. So make sure that you watch this video to learn how to build a long attention span.